Welcome back to Chicago Live. Appreciate you being here in the 2 o'clock hour now. We'll be with you for the next hour or so. We are going to bring in Cassie Carlson, Bears. I like to call her our Bears know-it-all because she just seems to know everything about the Bears. We sang your praises over the weekend on Good Day. Mark Strell and I, we were talking about the Bears and we had a question. We thought, we need to phone a friend. We just need to wake Cassie up because she knows everything. Are you at Hallis right now?
I am Alice, and I would have answered for you on a Sunday morning if you would have
I
called. Of course, Elizabeth. I'm looking forward to our Sunday chats before Bears game day live at Soldier Field.
Where I get to pretend like I know this much about Bears, and then you know this much.
You do a great job.
You do a great
job. I love it.
Okay, so you're at Hallis. What's going on? It looks a little dark. Is everyone taking a nap? What's going on up there today?
Yeah, it does look dark. It is not dark in here. I was trying to figure this out. Not a lighting expert, but today was a big day because we heard from Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. So it's a weird week for week one because they do have the extra day of practice given the fact that it's a Monday night game. And so the practice schedule is a little bit all over the place. So they are practicing today, but it's not like an official practice. So we're not going to get an injury report per se. They will be off tomorrow and then they will practice Friday and Saturday before they head down to like the team hotel and such Sunday for the Monday night opener against the Minnesota Vikings. So we heard from Ben Johnson, who talked about going through his first week of game preparations as not just the offensive coordinator, but the head coach and everything that it entails, including meetings with Kevin Warren, meetings with Ryan Poles, things that come across his desk. And it reminds me of something he talked about early on in training camp because Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, is a former head coach, and he gave Ben Johnson the advice of just saying, if you go into every day expecting for something unexpected to come across your desk, you're going to be just fine. And so that's kind of what he's dealing with right now, while also forming this game plan for the Minnesota Vikings against a blitz-heavy Vikings defense that creates a ton of different looks and challenges, especially for a young quarterback, while this defense is also trying to put a young quarterback that the Vikings have in J.J. McCarthy, who is returning to his hometown of Chicago, playing in his first NFL game in primetime, put some pressure on him as well.
What can we expect next Monday? Are we feeling good? Are we still trying to figure some things out? Is it going to be kind of last-minute decisions?
You know, that's the $1 million question with these week one games across the entire NFL is you really just don't know what a lot of these teams are going to look like early on in the season, and they're not a finished product by any means at week one. So as Ben Johnson said today, there are going to be some bumps in the road when you're dealing with a young quarterback like Caleb Williams learning a new offense, but he feels like they are in a good position to go right now. And he said they have the capability to win a lot of games this season if they want to. And he's kind of said that message in different ways throughout the entire training camp and off season, saying it's basically in the hands of the players because the coaches are going to put them in the right position and best position to win games to go out there and execute. And that's something that Caleb Williams can do. It's a message that was stressed last year that he doesn't have to play hero ball. He doesn't have to be Superman, while there will be moments for him to do that. And that's arguably when he's the most special. All he needs to do is get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. And Ben Johnson said today that it's kind of what keeps him up at night is figuring out how to feed all these mouths, because you look across the board on offense and there are a lot of weapons. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, Roma Dunze, Olamide Zaccheaus, Luther Burden, DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monungai. And while that's probably a good problem to have, it's also you got to keep everyone happy. And he said every person on this offense will have a role and have to carry this team at some points in the season and at a lot of different points within a game. And based on how you practice will dictate what your role will be that week. And so I think that's the message to these weapons, like, hey, go out there and practice hard, and that will determine what your role will be come this week, Monday.
Okay, I saw this quoted. The Bears have been predicted to make the biggest leap forward in 2025. Do headlines like that, does the pressure of something like that, does it get to these players? I mean, obviously, you know, they're professionals and you know, I'm sure when they're on the field and the noise or the boos or the, you know, whatever, they kind of zone it out. But, you know, the expectation, how do they live with the expectations going into week one?
Yeah, I think that's the difficult part about being an athlete, especially a professional athlete in today's day and age, because it used to be where you could kind of say you don't listen to the outside noise, but because they are all on social media and the way algorithms work, they notice all of it. And even DJ Moore, who was talking today, said there's a lot of comparisons between him and Deebo Samuel, who's kind of like this Swiss Army knife of being able to run out of the backfield, be a pass catcher, get yards after the catch. And he was like, I see all the comparisons all over ESPN. He also mentioned for fans who are coming out to the game on Monday night, he just wants to show that, they've improved. And he just said, don't boo us. That was a theme last year where the Bears were booed at home at Soldier Field. So hopefully it's a different product and there's a little bit more competency in just the head coach alone to be able to go out there and win games, or at least put this team in better positions to win games, because everyone has echoed the sentiment that the goal is to put up as many points as possible each week on the offense. And Ben Johnson hung 31 against the Lions, or against the Vikings, a year ago when he was the offensive coordinator of the Lions. And he said, you can't compare the two teams. It's a different situation. He was offensive coordinator there. They had different players, a quarterback with more experience. But I think from a Bears fan perspective, it's giving you hope that some of those tendencies that he picked up on and how to beat a Brian Flores defense will translate. So the Bears as a whole taking the biggest jump, I think it's definitely possible. And it starts up front with the trenches and really the offensive line being overhauled, because really if they can protect Caleb Williams and they can get the run game going, I think it really unlocks a lot of potential with this offense. And then defensively speaking, they all want to be a top 5 defensive unit. They have a new defensive coordinator with this attacking aggressive mindset in Dennis Allen. He has head coach. He's been a head coach twice in the league before, so he has that experience. So he's kind of like the CEO of the defense. Ben Johnson is taking care of the offense while overseeing the entire team as well. So I definitely think there is a capability for them to make the biggest jump. They're also in a really tough division, and that's kind of with the unknown of going into the season, starting with a primetime game against the Vikings and then going on the road against Detroit, which is going to be a very loud game with Ben Johnson returning to where he came from. So early on in the season, it's just so hard to tell, especially when you have a new head coach and new defensive coordinator and a young quarterback, what kind of jump they are going to make. But with the pieces on paper, they definitely have the potential.
Right, on paper, right? But let's just see what happens on the field. Do you're there every day. I think you live there. There's probably a room with your name on it. What do you expect? Do you expect some boos coming in, or
no?
Fingers
no.
Okay,
I don't
good.
expect. I think there's so much excitement for this season, and just talking to casual fans on a day-to-day basis, everyone believes in Caleb Williams and everyone believes in Ben Johnson, and having the quarterback and the head coach paired up and being in sync, I think can take a team very, very far. Now, I just think that we just don't know what it's going to look like when it comes to Monday night, and I think that's the biggest question mark. But I think the excitement level has to be as high as I can remember in a long time, just because, I mean, let's go back to the fact that the Bears got the head coach that they wanted. They paid him big bucks, and they got the most desired head coach in this coaching cycle. And a well-coached team, a lot of times these games come down to minute details or coaching decisions. I think a well-coached team can take you pretty far.
I also saw another headline today. Is he a play caller or a head coach?
He's both. He's both. I think his passion is, I don't want to speak for him. If I had to guess, it'd be play calling. I mean, that's what got him here. But I mean, he's going to be a head coach. He's going to have to make some in-game decisions, and that's something that we'll learn about him early on. But I that is an interesting question. Elizabeth, you need to stop reading that. The
all I can do before, when I talk to Cassie, I just start Googling, or I try to find that.
I'm like, all these headlines that are clickbait for you. No,
they're in my algorithm.
I mean, Ben Johnson is here because he was the best play caller. And so I think that's just kind of in his DNA. It was interesting. I think they did some outlet, maybe The Athletic, I don't want to misspeak on it, but they did a poll of the top play callers in the league, and there's all these different coaching trees, and I think it was voted on by, I want to say, front office members, other coaches, and other staff members in the NFL. They had Sean McVay, head coach of the Rams, who is one of the offensive geniuses, Kyle Shanahan, another coaching tree, and then they had Ben Johnson as the third one. So I think that just goes to show that he has a reputation from what he did in Detroit, having a top 5 offense the last 3 years, that he is capable of bringing any team to the top with the way he calls plays and the way he outsmarts defenses.
See, I ask you these questions because, you know the answers. That's why I ask you.